Well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. This is Danielle Sauve, and you are listening in and watching the presentation for the 5 KPIs to rocket your product to market. This is presented by Blue Software. You can find us at bluesoftware.com. Let's up and away and get started here. So I'm Danielle, and I am Director of Marketing here at Blue Software. I have 13 years in marketing experience. And I just thought it was a little bit important to give you an idea of who I am and why I'm qualified to talk about a subject like this. I've worked with big companies like Unilever and Alberto Culver before it was bought by Unilever, as well as on the agency side of the business, working with brands in packaging and other marketing materials. I have been working with a SaaS platform for a little while now, and but at the end of the day, I help packaging leaders develop their stories so that they can become better advocates for their departments, as well as get credit for the great work that they do to support the overall marketing vision of the company and bring that to life in execution on shelf. I produced some user conferences, and I recently authored a paper that we have on our website called The 5 Meaningful Metrics to Actually Accelerate Products to Market. And that is the basis, really, for this presentation today. So without further ado, we'll get into these 5 metrics because we don't want to keep you longer than 30 minutes today. So why do we care about metrics? We all know that you care about getting your products to market faster, whether you are a retail company that has private brands and you're trying to get those new products into market as quickly as you can so that you can do battle on shelf with the big national or global brands, or you're a global brand and you know that product innovation is your lifeblood and you want to get your new products to market quickly, as well as rationalize your portfolio or your SKUs that are on shelf, or you just want to introduce a new variety, a flavor, a scent. We know that all those changes that you're making, you want to do that quickly so you can have the maximum impact on the shelf. And the reason I have a Rubik's Cube graphic here is because in many ways, getting all of those pieces, whether it's regulatory approvals or illegal approvals, making sure that R&D signs off on your formulation and the ingredients on the package, that your CEO is happy with the package, all the people that have a role to play in the decision-making for packaging and artwork approvals, those things have to come together like a Rubik's Cube. They have to be all aligned at the right time in order for you to continue to be successful. So 5 KPIs. Here they are on one slide. I'm going to go through each of these individually, but I wanted to give you an overview at the beginning, and you can settle down on your screenshot taking right now. I will provide a link to people who are watching 75% of this show. We'll send you an email with the link to be able to download these slides themselves. So be good and stay tuned. We're going to present these today in a countdown fashion. So we'll start with number 5 first and count down to number 1. And that's just because I like the whole Letterman style, or if you have children, the blast off, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 blast off style. So number 5 is ship date variance. And ship date variance is just the difference between when you said you were going to ship something and when you actually did. So it could be 4 days, as you just saw in my animation, or it could be 30 days. And what we really mean is 30 days late. You may have promised that you were going to send a new product to your retailer and you didn't send it on January 1st, you sent it at the end of the month, so you're 30 days off of your promise. Some people call this missed deadlines, or the number of days that they fell behind on their schedule, a schedule delay. Whatever you're going to call it, this variance, the difference between when you were supposed to ship something, to ship your product, and when you actually did, is the first metric we always track, because this shows you several things. First of all, you need to know that every day your product is late to market is a day that you cannot recover on shelf. It's an opportunity cost, as the MBAs learn. It's an opportunity cost that you cannot get back because time once is spent can't be recovered. So the effect on your product time in the market, on the shelf, is felt immediately. This, of course, directly impacts your ability to deliver the dollars that you promised to the organization. So if you said, we were going to get this product in market in January, but you don't get it in market until February, all that time that you could have been reaping back the revenue that you put into your investment of developing the product has been lost. So it's a direct impact to really your top line revenue. Sometimes you even have a penalty from a retailer. If you said you were going to ship a product on one day and it's several days late, they may have allocated an end cap for you or shelf space in other ways, even promotionally, and they may penalize you because they have to adjust their plan because you are late. So there's lots of money on the table in this kind of conversation, and it helps us detect other issues. So for each of these metrics, I'm going to give you a detector. And the ship date variance helps you detect that there are bigger issues at play here. The ship date is the symptom of deeper issues, and I think that because there's so much money on the table, it gives you the motivation and helps you motivate others to dig deeper into what those issues are. People don't often know what the problem is, and they may even deny that there's a problem. If you're not measuring ship date variance, if you fudge your dates, if you aren't measuring when you really promised it to when you really delivered it, you won't have that motivation. So we encourage you to be true to these numbers. So the first way, I'm going to give you 3 ways to improve ship date variance here. And the first is to measure first and always. And that's what I was just saying, that if you aren't measuring and you're not really being true to what the actual promise was, if you fudge that timeline because you had to make this concession or that concession or this supplier was late or whatever, if you make concessions on that and you fudge the timeline, if you're not true to what you actually had set out to do, then you're not really measuring what that opportunity cost was. So you want to get a good idea of what the variance is and be truthful about that, be honest with yourself and your organization so you can have the best story to tell at the end of the day. Because the greater that variance is, the more pain you're experiencing or penalties you're getting, that's money. And money is motivation in any company that you're working for. So when you can show that, we were 5 days late to market and we expected to make $1 million each day that we were in the market with this new product, you can say that we actually cost, in this fiscal year, $5 million because we were late to market with these delays. Then you can take your next step, which is to declare war. And this means you can take those dollar values that you're coming up with from these measurements and go into your CFO's office and say, look, we have a problem, and this is the benefit if we fix it. We can recoup this type of money. We can do better next time if we make an investment in improving this variance that we're seeing. It's very powerful, but it is really just the first way that we look at these metrics to improve them and help you get to market faster. So number 4 is rejection reasons. Our work can get rejected for a number of reasons, whether the artwork is out of date or there's a formatting error, maybe there's a copy error or it's the wrong color, maybe there's something wrong with the translation. There are all kinds of reasons that our work can get rejected, and this is something we want you to track. This is an important metric to track. What are the rejection reasons and how often is each reason coming up as a problem for you? It's important because you may not know what to do to improve your ship date variance or how to improve your process. So it's important to measure the rejection reasons because it shows you exactly what you need to do. When you measure that, out of 10 projects, and each of them has 4 cycles, we know that 50% of those were rejected because of copy errors. And maybe that's the highest number you have. So you know then that you need to do something about your copy management process, that you need to either get on top of your copywriter and say, why are there errors in the copy that you're putting in, and so it's getting rejected, or take action, again, against a specific problem. This detects all kinds of process opportunities. If you're measuring the reason that artwork is getting rejected, something isn't right, well, what is it, and how can we make it right earlier in the process so we don't have to reject the cycle and send it back for additional revisions? So the ways to improve rejection reasons, as I just mentioned, when you analyze the reasons people are rejecting artwork, whether a barcode is wrong, the artwork is outdated, the formatting is wrong, when you analyze those and you understand how often each of them occurs, that is very powerful because it helps you understand the priority in which you should tackle these things. Again, the most frequent reason is what you should prioritize first. I know this is not rocket science, but we want to help you focus using these types of metrics. So when you prioritize those reasons, you also have data to back up all the changes that you would like to make to improve your process. You can say 50% of our rejection of our artwork is rejected because there are copy errors, so we need to do something about our copy. And that is motivating for people, and they will know that the changes you're looking to make are going to be effective because you're making them not just because you feel like this is a problem, but because you can prove that it is a problem. Thus is the power of metrics. So once you prioritize, then we say you knock down the dominoes. You just start with the one that is the most frequent rejection reason, and then you move on and keep improving your process to eliminate those rejection reasons. One of the funny stories I like to tell here is sometimes you find out crazy things like that a person in legal will reject something because they think the color is wrong, which is not even their responsibility. Or you may find a creative director could reject because the color isn't, as one funny video on YouTube puts it, isn't as luscious as it should be. So when you are tracking rejection reasons and analyzing them, you can curb bad behavior, such as not approving something because it's not luscious enough, as well as just people getting outside of their roles, which would be the example of the legal person commenting on the color. So these are examples of how rejection reasons and analyzing that can be very powerful and beneficial for your process. So number 3 is cycle time. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory what cycle time is. It's the time that it takes for you to route your artwork through everybody who needs to sign off and approve and contribute until you get it back to the artist and they make revisions. So that whole time from the beginning of one cycle to the next revision is what we call cycle time. And it's important because time, especially cycle time, is money. The longer your cycles take, the longer it takes you to get to market, the greater the potential for delays. So cycle time is money. And when you can shorten your cycle time, you increase your competitive agility. If you can get your cycles to take less time, then you're making changes faster. You have the ability to make more changes, should you want to, and who doesn't. And this metric also helps you detect resource opportunities, or we may say challenges in your resources, and can help you sometimes prove that you need more resources. So how do we improve cycle time? The first way that we think is very, very important and quite easy is to use an all-digital workflow. So when you have an automated workflow solution in place, you don't have to go from person to person to person, as you saw in the prior graphic. You don't have to go from Tom to Judy to Mahira to John all in order. You can actually send your file virtually to all those people at once so they can all comment concurrently. And if they're commenting concurrently instead of in that linear fashion, you are going to speed up your cycle time immediately. Because instead of each person having 2 days to approve and taking a total of maybe 8 days, you can give each of the 4 people 2 days to approve, and then you're done in 2 days. So as you understand, that dramatically improves your cycle time just by using a digital solution. The second thing that we recommend you do to improve your cycle time is to open up access. So if the only way people can approve a file is to get a folder on their desk and open it up, look it over, write their comments on it, and send it on, and walk it down the hall to the next person, then you will have problems with your cycle time getting interrupted because someone's out of town or someone's on vacation, they're not in the office that day for other reasons. And so if people can access the file from the web or from a cloud-based solution, then by opening up access, you're enabling that concurrency we talked about, and you're also allowing this collaborative review process. When people don't have to be physically involved with the file, when they can be digitally involved, virtually involved, then you're going to speed up your cycle time because there are fewer excuses. So you're traveling, you can still log in and look at the file at the airport or on your mobile phone or on a tablet if you're traveling, certainly on a laptop. So opening up access kind of removes some of those excuses that people have for not getting their approvals in on time. And the third thing you can do is to track the comments that people make. So when you track the comments in a digital workflow, you see that John commented something, James commented something else, Paul commented something else, Judy did something else, and they're all in one window. So this saves us time because no one has to go back and search through email threads and PDF comments to try to find all those comments and then consolidate them, make sense of them for a digital artist to then revise the file. When they're automatically tracked, you save all that project management time. And that then, of course, improves your cycle time. So now, once we improve our cycle time, the next great thing to do is to improve the number of cycles. So the number of cycles is a great metric to track because you want to know how many times you're going through this process. If it takes you 2 cycles, 3 cycles, as is illustrated here, maybe it takes you 8 revisions to get through a piece of artwork and get it finally approved by everyone. And I hope that's not the case, but if it is, please give us a call. The number of cycles is important because this is really the X factor, right? It's the multiplying factor. All the work that you've done on number 3 in improving your cycle time is multiplied when you can cut out cycles themselves. So we want to gain all those efficiencies and in improving your cycle time, but then again multiply that efficiency by cutting down the number of cycles. We want you to be careful of this habit of 3, we call it. And this has to do with the second item here, agency overage charges. So if you have an agency who's helping you, either a pre-media agency who's helping finalize your files, or you have a design agency, those are hard costs to your business. They're third parties who are charging you by the hour to do work. And if you go over your 3 cycles, 3 revisions, then they charge you an overage fee, and that is a hard cost for you as a company. And you may discover when you measure your number of cycles that you're going over 3 many times, and that there's room for savings and improvement there. But we want you to be careful of setting the expectation with your team that it takes 3 cycles to get something done, because we will tell you many of our customers find that that number 3 is meant to be a safety net. That 3 revisions is a safety net. It's not supposed to be the goal. That's where the agency says, we will charge you more if you go over 3 cycles because we think that's what's reasonable. So if that's what's reasonable, it's still not what's ideal. So we'll come back to what's ideal in a minute. But this, when you measure a number of cycles, you can sometimes detect procrastination. So because there's 3 cycles that are allowed, some people may not give their input until later on in the process, until that 3rd cycle, instead of doing it right the first time. So ways to improve the number of cycles, here we go. First, you want to measure how many cycles does it typically take you to get a project done. Is it, like I mentioned, is it 8? Is it 5? Is it 3? Is it 2? It'd be best to set a goal once you have a measurement that is an improvement. So if you're at 8, try to move to 5. If you're at 5, try to move to 4. If you're at 3, try to move to 2. because you want to set a goal that people feel they can accomplish. Then once you start getting people to accomplish those goals, you can improve the metrics even more and move from 5 to 4, 4 to 3. And we want to encourage you to do this because the fewer the cycles, like we said, it's a multiplying effect on the efficiencies that you've already gained from improving your cycle times. Getting things done in fewer cycles helps people feel happier about their jobs because they don't have to do as much rework. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. The second thing that we want to do is strengthen your process with software. So as we mentioned before, if you're not tracking these things and you're not automatically logging when people are making decisions, how long it takes them, if they're late, what the rejection reasons are, you want to strengthen that process with software. We do find that if people are allowed 3 cycles, they will sometimes approve the file the first 2 times without even looking at it, really. And then on the 3rd round, because they know that's the last chance they get to see it, on that 3rd round of review, that's when they make all their changes, which means you've wasted all the time up until that 3rd round, giving people the opportunity to look at it. They really haven't. They've approved it, but then on that 3rd round, that's when they find the errors. And we think that when you're using a digital process, you can detect behavior like that and encourage people to get their information and their changes in the first time, so then maybe you don't even have to have any more rounds of revisions. One way that customers of ours have done this is they specify which rejection reasons people in different roles are allowed to use. So if I'm in legal, I can't say the color is wrong, but I can say the legal statement is incorrect or the copyright date is wrong. Specific reasons that are just for legal. And likewise, you can assign those based on other roles as well. When you can do that, then you're strengthening that process and only allowing people to reject for certain reasons. That just continues to help you improve the number of cycles, reduce them. The one that's really interesting is you can also reduce the number of reviewers and approvers. So this is kind of counterintuitive. I'm just going to take a second to explain it. And in this window, if you're watching our webinar on our webpage, there's a link in the bottom corner to my colleague Jackie Leslie. She wrote a paper that was published about the bystander effect, and this is really interesting. So if you would normally think that the more reviewers and approvers, the more eyes on the file that you have, the better the quality of the review will be. That, you know, certainly with all these people looking at the file, we must find every little thing that's wrong with it. But studies have actually shown that that dilutes the responsibility people feel about the file. So if I have got 12 people looking at a file, as in this illustration, it's easy for me to say, well, there's 11 other people looking at this file, so I probably don't have to be very careful about my review because we'll all catch it, of course, right? But that dilution of responsibility can cause there to actually be more errors than if you only had, you know, 2 or 3 people who were responsible for making sure that was perfect. So this is a very interesting topic, and I won't spend more time on it now. You can click on Jackie's article there and read that. But reducing the number of reviewers and approvers is also a way to improve the number of cycles. The fewer people looking at it, the fewer people who are empowered with authority to approve, the quicker it will take. So this leads us to the awesome metric. When I mentioned before that there is an ideal way to get things done and it's not the habit of 3 cycles, this is the ideal. So if you can get your artwork approved the first time, let the artwork go through 1 round of revisions and that's it. Everybody says it's right. Really, it means there's no revisions. Approved, 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 done. That is ideal. Now, if you've never done this before, you haven't thought about percentage right first time, this can be shocking. So let me just explain it a little bit. You want to get things right the first time because this is the fastest way possible. So this is definitely one of those big, hairy, awesome goals that you want to be shooting for. And the percentage of times that you can get your artwork approved the first time is the metric that we're asking you to track now. So out of 10 projects, if 8 of them are right the first time, you are doing great. And if you're not, then there's room for improvement, because you can, yes, you can get your artwork approved right the first time. And why is this important? Well, I will tell you that it does definitely reduce stress and increase harmony within your company. I just was looking at this this deck on SlideShare about workplace happiness. It's called the Top 10 Trends That Will Change Work in 2016. And like 5 or 6 of them could easily be related to the types of capabilities that you get when you are using a digital solution to improve these metrics. Like, people have transparency, they understand what other people are doing, they have the ability to work remotely on their own time, they're empowered to make decisions because information is accessible, they're empowered to investigate and go find information, and those things increase people's workplace happiness, and we all want to be doing things more efficiently and feel like our time isn't wasted. And when we can improve right first time, people feel like they got it right, they didn't have to go back and make changes. That just increases everyone's happiness and harmony. So this also can help you detect accountability, problems with accountability. So if people aren't, if you're not able to get it right the first time, maybe it's that someone didn't give you the right input the first time, and that's why they're rejecting it now. When you can improve right first time, you can do a lot more with fewer resources because you are so incredibly efficient. Unless you interpret that as meaning you have to go fire people if you're doing more with less. I just wanted to mention this, this article that I read in the Atlantic magazine called The Automation Paradox, and it basically says that as automation continues to take over, there's still a great deal of work to be done by humans to manage all the automation that's happening. There's still a huge need for human contact and humans to manage what computers are doing, because often as automation takes over, the demand for that work increases. So now that we have the ability to make changes to packaging more often, because we're so efficient, now we want to make changes more often because we're so efficient, and that creates more work. What we're saying is you can do that with the same resources or even less. But to get it right the first time, you have to put really difficult things in place, I will say. Difficult but worth it. So the first thing to do to improve right first time is to get the brief right. So I just mentioned that if everyone in the team who has to approve is inputting their requirements into the brief, then you should be able to get it right the first time, because as long as those delivering on the brief have the full expectation of what is required from the approvers in the brief, then they should be able to deliver the first time. The problem is sometimes people don't get that right. So I think one of the ways you get the brief right is to go beyond what people write themselves. So if regulatory is telling me something, that what if they're submitting their input to the brief in writing, and maybe they're not being very articulate, maybe their meaning isn't coming across correctly. So it's important, if you're the project manager putting that brief together, to go beyond what they're writing, to really listen to their intentions, to what they need from this project, or what the requirements really are at a deeper level. Because often people aren't great writers and they can't put things into words, and they don't know how to express what's required until someone asks them the right question or they put it in words that make sense. So dig deeper on the brief, I encourage you, and go beyond what people write. If you're not doing a brief, then you need to put a brief together in the first place, right? The last thing we would say is to track and learn. So you improve right first time by improving the metrics that we talked about previously, by decreasing your cycle times, obviously, by checking into your rejection reasons and trying to eliminate those reasons altogether. So you have to track a number of metrics in order to improve right first time. You can't just say, why isn't our right first time improving? This is kind of a metric that you reach over time by making a number of changes. And so our most mature customers who are using Blue who have improved their process continually end up tracking right first time as their goal. The goal being to have right first time over 80% or over 90%, which is very, very ambitious for companies who haven't even started using a digital workflow yet. So these are the 5 KPIs. Hope this has been interesting so far. Again, we think that it's also important whenever you're looking at metrics that you share those metrics back with the people that you're measuring. So if you're measuring 5 different departments and you set goals for what these metrics should be, it's important that you share the true metrics, even if they're ugly, back to those departments so they know where they stand. Don't just share the failures, though. Share the successes, not just with management, but with the team that is actually executing the work. It might be even beneficial to generate some healthy competition. Let's see how quickly legal can get their approvals done versus marketing. See who can get it done in fewer days. But it's really important that you share those metrics so people can be motivated and again, continue to help you improve these metrics. So one thing that we just want to say here is that one of the ways you can impact these metrics is to gain insights and impact with software. So if you're not already using a digital tool to help you track your projects and track your assets and making sure people are communicating effectively about the assets themselves, there's a couple things we want to share with you. So most people have seen a diagram like this before. We know that change in a company has to have these 3 components. If you're going to change things and improve them, you've got to impact the process, you've got to impact people, and the tools that they are using. And when these 3 things come together, you have a powerful formula for change. So at Blue, we have designed our software to impact each of these intersection points. So our digital workflow tool helps enforce the process, keep the process intact, supports the process, so the people know when to do their tasks. People are given their tasks in the right order. It's about people getting the right information for the project at the right time, and for the project manager to have visibility over all their projects in one place. Our online proofing tool allows people to use this tool effectively to communicate with each other about the status of the project, of the artwork itself rather, and what changes need to be made to the artwork. This is the tool that they use to open up a high-res file, zoom in at full resolution, make comments. The people of the tool come together in online proofing. This is a very powerful way for people to get their job done no matter where they are, no matter what time of day it is. They don't have to be sitting in front of a proof manila folder. And then the process is also supported in the tool that we call the Digital Asset Library. So the Digital Asset Library doesn't just hold your file that's been approved. We actually wrap the entire workflow and approval stream around that asset as metadata, so that you can say, oh, here is my photograph that was approved, and it was approved on this day by these people. Before that, all these changes were requested by these people, and all of that heritage that's been generated by the approval process is locked up in the asset. So you have a very valuable set of context that allows you to use that asset more readily and with more confidence, because you know exactly how it's been approved, and it's again, it's heritage and the number of people that have touched it to make it valuable. So if you're not able to measure these 5 KPIs that we talked about, please ask us for a demo, because we'd love to show you how you can measure these things and how you can improve them when you have tools like these in place at Blue. And this is how you get started. Just visit our website. You can look at online demos that are there for you on demand. You can see online proofing in action. You can see Digital Asset Library, workflow tool. We hope you do check out those demos and let us know if we can set up a custom demo for you, or if you'd like just 20 minutes to talk to an expert about your options and what we can do for you here at Blue. So have a great day. Thanks so much for your time. I'm Danielle Sauve. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's Sauve, S-A-U-V-E. And we look forward to talking with you here at Blue.